Hi everyone, and welcome back to our videos on how to configure VWire in this case. I have a fantastic video for you today. This is actually totally simple configuration to do. So this is for configuration of VWire or layer 2 or transparent mode, many different names for it, but VWire, virtual wire is what we like to call it. So what you do is once you've logged into your device, you're going to be at the dashboard screen. What you'll do is you'll come over here to the network tab. And in the network tab you'll see a list of your interfaces, but more importantly what we'll want to do is set up a new virtual wire. There is a default virtual wire here which you can use. Feel free to go ahead and use that, but if you wanted to set up a new one, that's perfectly alright as well. We're going to go ahead and demonstrate how to do that today. I'll set it up for a couple of ports here. So what we do is we click over here on virtual wire, virtual wires on this navigation bar, and we'll see that there's the default one. We'll make a new one, and what we'll do is we'll call that, in this case, we'll call it just test VWire. We don't have to select the interfaces just yet. We'll go ahead and click OK, and we'll see that appear there. And then what we'll do is we'll come back over to the interfaces. And on the interfaces page, we'll choose the interfaces that we want to use. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose Ethernet 1.6 and 1.7. So when I click on that, it's going to ask me up here for the interface type, and that's where I will change that to virtual wire. Now, for me personally, I very much like to hard code the speed and duplex. Depending on the type of equipment that you're connecting to, it may seem to be a good idea. Some people like to leave this set to auto. For me, again, I prefer to hard code it just to make sure that there's no errors in signaling, but entirely up to you. The other thing you do need to configure here, though, is the actual virtual wire interface that you're going to assign to. So it's in this box here. It says Assign Interface to. We will select the test VWire that we just created. We can also choose a zone. So we can choose the trust zone or the untrust zone. I'm going to go ahead and put 1.6 in the trust zone. Then I'm going to say OK. And I'll say OK. It's going to go ahead and assign that. It popped that message because I actually had these configured as something else previously. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here for Ethernet 1.7. So I clicked on Ethernet 1.7 in the same page. I may again need to configure my speed and duplex. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the VWire, but this time I'm going to put this interface in the untrust zone. I'll click OK, and it's going to say this message because again I had configured these previously. I'll go ahead and say OK to that message. We will continue on, and now we'll see that Ethernet 1.6 is in the trust zone and Ethernet 1.7 is in the untrust zone. So the other thing that I need to do to complete my VWire configuration is actually create policies for this, because we want the traffic to flow between these two zones. Remember, we're in a firewall now. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Policies tab. I have a rule here already, but we can potentially use or modify this rule. But what I'm going to do is just go ahead and add a couple of new rules. I want to make sure that I add a rule for both directions if I want the traffic indeed to flow to both locations. So I might say here, rule 2, from the trust zone, I'm going to say OK. So I select trust, click add. To the destination zone, I'll click untrust, add, and then OK. Okay, so this will be my rule from trust to untrust, and I'll just leave it open for any traffic. I'm going to make the same rule for the other direction. So, but this time I'm going to say from the untrust zone, OK, to the trust zone, trust, add, OK. So now I have policies for both directions of this traffic, and I'm going to say allow. And in this mode, that way I can be very transparent about what it is that I'm seeing. Now, one last thing I may choose to do is to actually turn off a feature, so in case I have a scenario where my particular traffic is in an asymmetric routing environment. So what I do is get to the command line. This is going to turn off the detection for the three-way handshake. So what I'll do is I'll come in here, I'll say configure, and I will say set device config setting session TCP reject none syn no. And that's it. At this point, what I can do is hit the commit button, and it's going to go ahead and commit all these configuration changes that I've made. Now, I did a couple of interesting things here that may be easy to forget if you want. So what I highly recommend is that you also get a hold of a document that goes over this as well. Installation steps for virtual wire mode evaluation. This is a great document. It walks you through all these things step by step. You can get this from your Palo Alto systems engineer, and possibly you may be able to get it from our support team as well. But nonetheless, if you can, get a hold of this document as well if you're doing a virtual wire install. So I'm going to let that go ahead and commit. One other thing too that I might point out is that you also have the ability to turn on some of your profiles here. By these I mean the antivirus, vulnerability protection, anti-spyware, URL filtering. Typically I do this as well, but I'm going to save that for another video. Okay. So once you commit this, and once you have once you commit this, you should be able to, at this point, go ahead and swing the cables over. Typically you're going to interrupt traffic, so I would probably do this during an outage window. But at this point you are ready to go ahead and put this device in line. And once it's in line, you should be able to go ahead and monitor traffic. So I should be able to click over here on the monitor page, and I'm going to go ahead and generate a little bit of traffic here. Let's just click here and say yahoo.com. Great, we're loading up some stuff. Fabulous. If I maybe hit the traffic page again, and maybe I'll resolve this time, and we should see some, there's my DNS request, and of course here's my yahoo.com requests. So it's working. Okay, so fantastic. That's pretty much it. I hope you found this helpful and quite simple. And if you have any questions, feel free to call your local Palo Alto systems engineer. And I hope you enjoyed this video.